the king of the fire control triangle, that's the trigger control. Why? Well, you can have that perfect stance, perfect grip. If you're not precise with your trigger, everything will go to a waste. There's only one purpose of the trigger control: to fire the shot with acceptable disturbance of the sight picture. Why acceptable? Well, depends on the mission. If you have an easy target, and that means close target or quite big target, now we can compromise a little bit the accuracy in order to achieve speed. Now, in close range shooting, speed is the priority. If you have a bad guy close to you, it's the matter of who is going to fire the first accurate shot. You don't have time. Even if the shot is not perfect, most likely the person, the individual that delivered the first accurate shot will win the gunfight. Now, if we have a longer distance, this is where the priority is switched. Now, the accuracy is more important. It doesn't matter how fast you are, if you don't hit the target, you're not causing any damage, you're not stopping the attack. That's why we said acceptable disturbance of the sight picture. If the target is close, we can accept a little bit more disturbance, and we do not need to be dead on precise with the trigger pull to gain that speed. But when we go to a longer distance, we need to focus to very, very precise trigger pull, so there will be almost no disturbance of the sights. There are two core principles behind the trigger control. Only one purpose, but two core principles. First principle of the trigger control is isolation, the action of the finger. Simply said, only finger moves. I like to use that analogy. It's like you want to say to somebody, come here, come here. You're moving only the index finger. Pay attention not to squeeze the rest of the fingers. Ideally, you want to move that trigger finger from the second joint only.
We're going to take a set of standard grippers. These are Captains of Crush from Iron Mind. These are number 1. Use the weight that works well for you. Take them like you normally would in your firing hand, and take an empty casing and just squeeze it at the base of the handles and hold it in place, setting the grip tension. Extending the trigger finger. Now we just manipulate the trigger finger without adding or subtracting tension in the grip. What we want to avoid is manipulating the trigger finger and seeing that casing fall out. That would indicate some sympathetic movement of the other fingers as you're manipulating the trigger finger. One more time, just take that empty casing, squeeze it at the base of the handles, and manipulate the trigger finger without allowing that casing to fall out. I think you'll find that this simple exercise will help you in isolating the action of the trigger finger much better.
Now, no rush here, Miles. It's an awareness building exercise. So just execute that exercise with the speed of success and try to grasp any part of that sensation, how it feels like when you do it right. We have a 2-inch circle targets here. We'll use the top left circle. You'll start again from the compressed low ready position or a hand clap position. Present the gun with the sights aligned by feel. Focus on your wrist angle. And so at the moment that you see the sights are about to touch the target, touch and prep the trigger and focus on only one thing here, only one mission, only finger moves, only finger moves. Go ahead. One shot, then bring the gun back down to compressed low ready position. Present, touch, prep the trigger, focus on only finger moves, only finger moves. Great job. And let's do it again. Present, touch, prep, only finger moves. Excellent, great job. Keep going. Excellent. Safety on, reholster. Now, the second principle of the trigger control is the direction of the actual press of the trigger. What is the answer? Straight back. Now, by actual press of the trigger, we mean here is of the moment that the trigger is prepped, like you're touching a wall, from that moment to the actual bang or hammer drop. That very short tolerance of movement, this is where you need to focus to be straight back. Trigger control in general, it's mental control. Now, if you use the subconscious mind to visualize a specific image and try to replicate that image, you're going to apply the principle even without knowing that. Remember that diagram that it's very popular in internet. If you hit the left of the target, that means too less of a finger, or if you hit right, it's too much of a finger. What if I told you that's not true? Regardless where you place the trigger finger on the trigger, if you visualize that straight back pull, you will be successful and the hit will be dead on. So in order to actually prove my words, we'll do a little experiment. Now we are going to use that vertical trigger stripe like a demo target to make our experiment. Now there are the two ways to actually achieve that straight back pull. The first one is if you simulate the shooting hand grip, then take the index finger of the support hand and place it on the web of your hand, just in the middle, then try to move that finger straight back with your trigger finger. Avoid any sideways movements. The second method is to simply visualize when you're pulling that trigger, like you want to touch your nose. That visualization will trigger the subconscious mind and you will achieve that principle. Now, what we'll do here on that stripe, 1-inch stripe, I'll make 3 different shots with 3 positions of the finger on the trigger. The first one will be with the very tip of my trigger finger on the face of the trigger. But I will visualize that image in my head, that I want to pull that trigger straight back. I want to touch my nose. Present the gun on target, straight back. Now the second shot, I will place the trigger on the middle portion of the first joint of my trigger finger. And I'll keep again that mental image that I will pull straight back. Visualize that I'll pull straight back, straight back. Now the last shot, I will use the second portion of my trigger finger all the way in. But I will visualize again, straight back, straight back. I want to touch my nose. Let's see what will happen there. I'll curve it all the way in, all the way in. But I'll visualize straight back, straight back, straight back, straight back. Now, as you can see, there is no dramatic effect. All the hits, more or less, are the same area. So, regardless where you position your finger on the trigger, as you can keep that mental image in your head that you want to pull straight back, you will be successful. Now that's the 2 principles behind the trigger control. If you're able to isolate only the finger and you generate that straight back pull, you will be successful. Now the biggest issue though is with the principle number 1. A lot of people had a problem with isolation of the action of the finger. That's why we have 2 more concepts to support the proper execution of that first principle. The first concept is the speed of the actual press. And again, we're talking about the actual press. We don't care how fast you're going to take the slack or prep the trigger. That very little motion at the very end, when the trigger is already prepped, to the actual drop of the hammer or the bank of the gun, that's the actual press of the trigger. You need a constant speed. If you start that pull with 4 miles per hour, you need to finish that pull with that 4 miles per hour. And many people, what they do, they get excited, they start with 4 miles per hour and they finish with the 25. So they have that impulse that we talked earlier about, they generate that impulse or slap. Instead of that, it must be constant, it must be smooth. It's more like piston, not like slap, it's piston, constant speed. Now we have the middle row left to encircle. Let's focus on that constant actual trigger pull. So you can take the slack, present the gun, take the slack, and from here focus that actual trigger pull will be like piston. Fire the shot. Excellent. And again, present, take the slack, piston. 4 miles per hour and you finish with that 4 miles per hour. Let's do it again. Beautiful. Safety on and reholster safely. Now the second concept that's supporting that first principle, it's the effort that we put on the trigger pull. How much effort? The simple answer is just enough. Let's say we have a trigger that weighs 4 pounds. 4 pounds. Technically, how much pressure we need to apply to make the gun go bang? Probably about 4.1, right? We cannot be so precise, especially when you're talking about the reactive shooting in a dynamic situation, but you can go from 4.5, 4.7 regardless. The thing is that a lot of people actually applying about 20, 25 pounds to a 4-pound trigger. Where do you think that unnecessary energy will go?
To your wrist, to the movement, I mean, basically your grip. It's gonna...
Yes, and that will have an effect on the frame of the gun. And if there's a energy that will affect the frame, that will move the sights away from the proper sight alignment, right? That will cause not accurate shot. So let's focus to use just a minimal, just enough effort to break that shot. Here is the challenging part. You need to have very stiff and very firm grip, but here with the trigger finger, the manipulation, effort, it's very, very gentle. It's like how much effort you use when you click computer mouse or click a key on the keyboard.
Very little.
Yeah, if you're not angry, right? So, very little. That's the same thing. Keep that firm grip. Imagine that you're clicking a mouse. That's it. Now, let's face the target. We'll go live fire. We have the middle row right to encircle. Focus on just enough effort, minimal effort. Keep that firm grip. Make sure that the grip is pretty firm. Now try to relax just the finger a little bit and apply the minimal effort. Take the slack and minimal effort of the actual press. Excellent. Now bring the gun back to hand clap position. Now slowly, with the speed of success, with developing awareness here. Again, a minimal effort. Beautiful. One more time. Firm grip, relaxed finger, minimal effort. Safety on, and you can reholster safely. As you can see, that group is really, really tight. That proves that that concept will have a great effect on principle number 1. Only finger moves. Now, constant speed combined with minimal effort will lead to that isolation only on the finger. Will help to preserve the fine motor skill instead of gross motor skill. Does that make sense? Excellent. Great job.